Okay. I know we're almost Is that my iPhone? I don't want to part with it. Okay. I'll put it down.
Shock you?
Yeah. Okay. We have 3 minutes before the 30-minute mark. So I guess I'll ask one last question, and that is, as you guys are developing your research methodologies around social, how do you foresee your team interacting with the business units to support their efforts, their campaigns, their marketing objectives and initiatives?
I hope that our team can disband. And what I mean by that is that we can develop this framework and some tools and some techniques and some training that we can hand off. We have a 50-person group that I want them all to be able to use the social stuff. I don't have time, in this Foresight role, I don't have time to be monitoring Twitter feeds about a marketing campaign. Somebody else is worrying about that. I need to train them to do it. So our goal is to help the rest of the division be able to leverage them. And there may be some specialists, definitely. But I don't think our team's role is that. I think it's to help figure it out, help come up with some case studies and how to educate those other people in our division.
Okay. So with that, I want to open the floor for audience questions. I know you guys may have questions, especially as you guys are developing your initiatives for 2011. So please ask Josh. We can check Twitter to see if any questions have come through. Are there any questions that come through? John? Yes. Christy has a mic.
The microphone lady.
I can speak loud. Okay, Josh, quick question for you. You mentioned a social media monitoring tool that you guys looked at and spent $25,000 on. Which one was it?
It was Collective Intellect. And Collective Intellect, let me step back into these monitoring. We looked at a whole bunch. We did all these RFPs, requests for proposals, and did demos. I get countless emails. Try out our new software. It's great. You won't have to think anymore. We'll figure it out for you. It's all BS. Because everybody, there's like this spectrum, and Jeremiah Aoyang does a really cool 8 stages of listening. And they, on one end, it's kind of, there's actually 7 that matter. The first one's like, don't do anything. But it's kind of this monitoring. So you're just looking for key terms, Hallmark or HP or whatever. And then all the way to the other where you're almost predicting what the consumer's going to do. It's a much more insight way. So most companies, when they started, everybody's trying to figure out how to monitor, how to find out what's happening in social space. They tended to go more towards this side over here, which is the monitoring workflow. And so that, Radiant 6, Spiral 16, there's a whole bunch of really good groups that do that. We decided to go more towards this insight, kind of predictive, understanding consumer space, and that's where Collective Intellect plays. So it's not a great dashboard kind of tool. They're developing some stuff, but it's really more about these projects. They go in and they have a linguistic group. They're right next to Boulder, Colorado, University of Colorado, that has some specialties in linguistics, and it sounds like a commercial for them, but so that's why that we pulled them out. If you're looking for campaign monitoring and things like that, they can do it, but there's other tools that might be better. But for the project, we found them to be the best.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Any other questions?
How do you see the social media efforts of the corporation objectives mixing with the social media activities of the employees?
How do we see them mixing?
Well, what has your experience been? Because as the social media being such a personal environment, and now the corporation is moving into that personal environment and trying to be a part of the dialogue, it's a natural conflict of interest with the media itself, and it's something that manifests itself very clearly within the corporation itself.
Yeah. We'll see if this, I have some thoughts on that. And one thing that we've noticed, and we may all know this already, but the consumer, when they interact with a company, they don't care who it is, right? They don't care if you're in PR, they don't care if you're in marketing, if you in the shipping dock, they don't care if you're in research or whatever. They're talking to HP, they're talking to Hallmark, they're talking to Shell or whoever, right? And so they don't care. And before, it didn't come into play as much, because really the touch points went through either PR as a person, one-on-one we're talking, or through research. And it was really fairly controlled, or it was within your little circle of friends, right? But in the social space, everybody can find me and see that I'm on Hallmark. You all know that I'm on Hallmark. You talk to me, you think you're talking to Hallmark, right? So it's this new environment, and we really need to embrace that. And so how we're doing it is through training. Something specific to Hallmark, I don't know if this happens at your company, but we get ideas all the time. You should do this, you should do that. Some of them are great ideas, some of them, most of them aren't. But, or we've thought about them or done them or whatever. We're like, we're selling that now, just go online, come on. So we get all these ideas, and there's all this sticky legal stuff, right? So if somebody emails me something and then we wind up making it, it's this real, was it their idea and we used it as a proof and all this trail. So we've had to do some pretty stout training and legal policies and making sure that we're watching out for that stuff, because those consumers will pump ideas into you. Some don't care, but we've definitely had our fair share of lawsuits of people, in that environment. So it's kind of an interesting one, and so that's one. And I really like, just from an outside perspective, Jeremiah Al-Yang also has this, it's called the rings of influence, I believe he called it. And at the middle or at the bottom, it's company, then employees, then consumers, and then prospects, I think. And so the idea is that as you go outside in that ring, and you can find it on his site, webstrategist.com/blog, and you can, as we've seen from Edelman and Nielsen, the trust is shifting to people that are like you, to your friends and family, to reviews online. It's not where before, if I am CEO of Hallmark, or if I'm CEO of some other company and I say something, people believe it. That sense of trust in the company and in the executives has really deteriorated over these last few years, especially with Enron and all these companies going. You guys know Enron. That has deteriorated, and so it's coming from the people we know that are like us. That's why we read reviews in Amazon. That's why we use social search tools. So it's really, I think, the future is enabling your employees to make those interactions, and that's helping in this real-time atmosphere where we can't. PR has 25 people in their group, and we have a decent-sized PR group. They can't answer all those things. We need to be enabled to speak on Hallmark's behalf and be trained to do such. So that's really kind of where it's going, but it's a hard shift. It's a mind shift, if you will.
Nice plug. Any more questions? Michael?
Yeah, my question kind of goes along with what was just asked there. I mean, any research you've done or things that you've seen to the perspective of individuals following individuals, and I'm thinking really a lot about Twitter here when I ask this question, and that is, it does seem more personal. And as an HP employee, obviously when we do things, we tweet from HP. But it feels like it would be more successful to me if that tweet were coming from an individual at HP. And so, of course, as a big company, we've got a lot of individuals that do that. But we have a focused aspect of an HP SMB tweet that goes on. I could see on Facebook you wouldn't necessarily do the individual thing. But what's your perspective on where and how you would resolve that? I mean, people following HP at SMB as a company versus identifying an individual name to associate with HP and a small business market, and if that would have potential opportunity for more influence, if you will, because it is more personal versus just a corporation trying to talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I just from my personal view, and we're not implementing this yet, but from reading Twitterville from Shaw Israel and just a lot of the other talk, there's kind of two. Well, first, I believe that social and the real power of it is to bring a face to your brand. And when I teach our retailers in our Gold Crown network how to leverage the social tools, it's really, they care about your store because of the people behind it, because of the stuff that you're about. And I think that social can bring that to life. And so just being, our Twitter handle is Hallmark PR. And you really don't, there's some power in that, but I'm with you. And so I like both two ways. Dell, pioneered this a little bit where they, so-and-so at Dell. I think that's a great way to do it. Also, some folks will, do a little, put your initials or your name at the end of the tweet to kind of mark it. I think co-tweet, there we go. Co-tweet. I I think.
I won't pick it up again. I won't pick it up again.
I think CodeSuite has that as a good feature, but I definitely agree with you that the personality needs to come through the brand, and it's about being authentic. It's not about being perfect, and so that's kind of my perspective, and I think it holds value, but most companies don't do that. What was it? It was Ford. I can't remember the specific, but it was Scott Monty behind it. And he's led. Am I thinking about the right situation where he was running and everybody was kind of about Scott Monty, but now that he's shifted, it's not him anymore. So what? It's this weird limbo. So.
Why don't you tell what's on your mind?